What is up, guys? Brian D here, and today I would like to talk about talents and how impactful they are in your progression. Once you unlock them, how important they are in not just increasing your strength, but your overall functionality with some of these characters. So, without further ado, let's get into it. As you can see here, I've followed these two, and there's some interesting stuff here. So, as you can see here, I'm in talent level 5. What you will see when you first unlock this feature is this here. This is what you get. You get a bunch of raw stats. Now, these stats are great. Excuse me. You got pretty much everything that a unit would need or ask for. This is essentially the same for every unit. There are some differences as you go along into the talent tree, but as you can see here, it gets better and better. The further you get into it, you get some damage resistance, you get some of these special ones. These yellow ones are usually what you'll see as being the special ones, and they'll be highlighted for that the exact reason, right? And you can also click here to, instead of going up or down. So further you go in, the better the effects, the better this character will do. As you see here, you just get a flat damage boost percentage, which is great because all these flat stats end up mattering a lot more. But then when you get to talent level 5 is where you unlock their hidden ability. Now, there are a few characters in the game that have unique ones, and then there are some that share a generic talent, hidden ability. So for Ren, when you go to ability details, you go down the list and it lets you know exactly what it is that you have acquired in terms of your your raw stats and the percentages. And then here you go to passive. This is what you unlock: perfected form for Ren. Additional effect upon custom mech suit activation, meaning you need the mech in order for this to be active. So you get a 1.5 times damage multiplier when you hit 20 Sakura stacks, which is pretty insane. And the max level preview for it just goes up to ×2. So it's not that big of an increase initially. I'm not sure how much this changes with her ultra rare form, but for SSR form, it's 1.5 here and 2 times max. But just unlocking this is like the main thing that you want. And as you can see here, the character strength is 58,000. This might look a lot different for you, even though you might have Ren, where I have Ren at. I have quite a few sequences here. Now, the reason that's important is when you also come to Grab, or any unit that has a special ability. Again, it'll more or less look the same, as you can see here, up until a certain point where you get to their hidden ability, and that is where the change is different. So you just get a damage boost, 2% upon ending the battle, and this is basically the generic one that you'll see often. Just a flat damage boost, and damage reduction from bosses by 3% on entering the battle. Not really much to write home about. As you can see here from the max, you get quite a few different stats here and percentages and effects. So, you know, you get damage reduction from, you know, the elites, which is the, you know, the mini bosses. And then, you know, damage resistance for bosses goes up. Damage increase to bosses and elites goes up. Your overall damage, your damage resistance. You know, you get some attack speed here and some movement speed. So these stats are incredible. And as you can see here, I'm not able to. I have to wait for defense in the combat training in order to progress forward. So this is just another reason and why combat training is like so important and vital to your account's progression, because these resources are shared amongst your pilots, so you have to be very picky in who it is that you choose. Now Bernadette is one of those, like Ren, where it's very unique, and again, it's another reason and why I haven't, you know, done anything with her, simply because I need sequences, aka I need sequence coins, because there's no other way to get stuff for, you know, sequences for Bernadette at the moment, outside of, you know, spending money. So there's that. But as you know, you progress through the game, you'll get sequence coins. There's, you know, also just, you know, paying for it. So the current event allows you to do so, which is pretty nice. For free to play, you know, it's pretty nice. For pay to play, it's like insane because of the cost. It's not that much, but as you can see here, Hell's Messenger, you need your mech, which, you know, in order for this to, you know, actually have effect. So Kill with Kindness deals ×2 damage. Now, the reason that's important is Kill with Kindness here, standard attacks have a 21% chance of doing 4 times the damage, and that percentage goes up as you level this up, which I will do eventually, because, you know, Bernadette's actually worth it. But Brilliance also gives a chance of triggering Kill with Kindness when you attack a debuffed enemy, and her ultimate gives just that. Or you could just simply pair her up with, you know, a team that has some form of debuffing. Say like a Shmily or a PN26, Bernadette does incredibly well with them for that exact reason. And she, Favia as well, if you're able to, you know, build her up or put in resources to build her up. I've not done so. I probably will at some point, just to see, you know, if she's good or not. So you guys don't have to. I have the ability to do so, so that'll probably come later on. So I'm gonna look out for that. There's just a number of characters that have unique passives, right? See, fanaticism, excuse me, is basically shared. It's, you know, the one, if they don't have a unique, that's generally what you'll see in them having. So Solvik has the same thing. As you can see here, I'm investing into Solvik. She's absolutely worth it. If you were wondering, like, what, that's a rare, how could you? No, she's actually like one of the best students in the game. If you don't already know at this point, this is your first video watching. So, which I doubt if you're looking at this town thing, but it could be. And if it is, welcome. But, you know, same thing here. It's just a generic talent tree there. Flavia has a unique one, which is pretty cool. It's just a shame that she isn't good because of her attack string, and only because of that. Otherwise, she'd be perfectly fine. Should be a pretty decent unit. But yeah, there's not too many that have unique ones. Again, it's the default one that you're going to see. They don't have a special one. Shmily's is pretty insane because it gives you 30% more healing effectiveness with her mech. So it's actually pretty good. Shmily is one of those where it makes a massive difference, and that's something that you need to look out for. Same with Elizabeth. She also has one that's pretty good, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, so taking damage recharges 100 energy, and it triggers once every 1 second, which, you know, that's pretty helpful considering she has 6,000 energy cost on her ultimate, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, 6,000. And Violet as well has a pretty nice talent ability. And these are some of the things that you'll be looking at just when you consider what unit to invest into. Violet's a pretty nice one because her effect is pretty good. So when you have her mech, which you'll be able to farm, mercenary level 50, standard attacks against decaying enemies, which is in her passive, has a 30% chance of dealing damage equal to 200% of her attack to nearby enemies within 15 yards radius, and it triggers once every 2 seconds. That's pretty good. So this is, you know, this is basically where it is, and they're 5-star. Attacks have a 10% chance of forcing targets to decay and lose health equal to 30% of Violet's attack for 10 seconds. It does not stack, but it does refresh, and this is pretty huge for her damage. So that's like another reason, and it's a good thing that Violet's, you know, farmable, both in her mech and her sequences. So once you have her, it's you know, pretty nice. And Nova also has a unique talent, which, you know, has her, you know, and being another reason why she's so good. Once you get her mech, this doesn't need, the thing with Nova is you don't need the mech in order to activate this. It's, you know, attacks from the beacon defenders, when you ultimate, basically inflict marked on enemies for 15 seconds. Does not stack, but it can be refreshed. And then standard attacks from Nova against enemies afflicted with, you know, that marking is, they now take 3 times more damage. So that's pretty insane. That is pretty insane. So, you know, again, when you ulti, you get these 3 and you need the mech, and so you basically do need the mech in order for this to even, you know, take place, which is, you know, pretty insane. But Nova with her mech is like, you know, ridiculous. She's a really good unit. So if you have her, awesome. Now you just need her mech whenever a mech comes out. Sumora, there's, you know, you can basically just go through this. I don't want to make this video too long, just, you know, explaining some of these unique ones and, you know, how they impact the unit's overall, you know, usability. I'm sure you guys, you know, get the gist at this point. But there's some effects that are really insane, other ones not so much. You know, when you take damage, it has a 10% chance of recharging 500 energy, which it is good, simply because this energy cost isn't that bad. It's up there, but that does help. She's not getting, you know, any sort of energy recharge any other way, so I'd suppose it helps out some more, but it's just not that great, I would say. So with Evelynn, she has a talent where she does 3 times more damage to enemies with shields, I believe her passive is. Yes. Attacks against enemies with shields deal 3 times more damage. That's what hers is. So she has a pretty niche one. It's, you know, it's interesting. PN26, I believe, also has a unique one. another reason why she will eventually end up becoming like one of the better units that you have and have gotten for free. So she gains a shield that absorbs damage equal to 30% of her own health when her health is below 60%. Shield lasts for 10 seconds and can be triggered once every 20 seconds. So having her with a healing team, I would say you put her with Shmily. So I'd say a team like Favia, PN26, Shmily, and Bernadette is a really good team because they all help each other out with debuffs and all that good stuff, which is what you want. And there's a few other units that also benefit from that. So yeah, PN26 ended up being like really good later on. Again, Lei does, you know, just that generic talent. Coreleah, I believe she has a unique one. Yeah, she does. It just increases the duration of taunting enemies, which is pretty good. Pretty darn good. And, you know, as you go down the list, there's just other units that, you know, have some unique ones. Zima is not one of them. I don't know if Veronica is one. He's not. Just go through all of them so you guys know. Yep. Same thing here. Audrey, likely the same thing. I doubt she has a different one. So again, in a passive skill, same thing. Eggy and Peggy, I believe they have the same thing. Once you get to a certain point, there's just not going to be units that have special talents. I believe Viola has a special one though. She does not. She won't need it. They make up for it later. When you get her mag and 5-star, she's, you know, great. But yeah, it's not really many units past a certain point that really have anything different. It's pretty much the same for the most part. There's not really too many past a certain point that have anything different. Like Sweetie's not one of them. I don't remember if Natasha was one of them. She is. So attacks have 100% chance of recharging 300 energy, and it triggers once every second. So Natasha's is actually huge because it makes it so she's able to, you know, get her ultimate online sooner, which is like very important. Just because it's, you know, able to not only, you know, boost damage for your, you know, yourself and your team, but it also has a chance to trigger this, which, you know, boosts the random teammates' damage. It can be refreshed, so it's pretty nice. And yeah, she's just Natasha is just a very, very good unit overall. She's just a very good unit. She has some really nice effects, no matter how you look at it. So yeah, Natasha is one of those where getting the talent level to, you know, to 5 and unlocking her special ability is like, it's just gonna make her even better than what she is currently, which is, you know, nice. And Breeze, I don't think she has one. Yeah. I'm not sure what's going on with my frames and whatnot. It's weird. Weird stuff has been happening as of late. I believe Dongos is, you know, unfortunately nothing here. I do believe Alexa, she should have a special. Yep. So when you get her mech and her health drops below 70%, there's a 35% chance to deal 3 times more damage from all attacks. This is why Alexa is like one of the best units that you can possibly get your hands on. And her, if you've seen her kit, you know exactly how insane she is. And if you haven't, I'll just quickly go through it for you to read on your own time. You know, you can pause the video and go through this yourself. You're not, you know, already aware. This. Here's this as well. Alexa is another one of those characters that fit into that, you know, debuff team that's really good. So you can pair her with Bernadette and she's really insane. So like a Bernadette, Alexa, Shmily, and PN26 team, or, you know, Alexa, Bernadette, Favia, Shmily, or PN26. And they'll, you know, do incredibly well together. Just, you know, another one of those units that is pretty darn good. And, you know, Rekka doesn't have a special in her talent. I'm not sure if Favia had one. She does. So with her mech, attacks against enemies with shields have a 10% chance of dealing times 2 damage. So she has a worse Evelynn effect, but the thing is, at 5 stars, she's already dealing 25% more damage to enemies with shields, and she also ignores the shield with her mech. So it's not like that. Her talent doesn't really like have too big an effect. Really, it does for, like, you know, later stages when you get to certain points in the, you know, the large delta scale quest. In the Kaga one as well, that's when it starts mattering. And Nia also has one. So attacks grant 100% chance of boosting crit damage by 200% for 10 seconds. Does not stack, but can be refreshed. So hers is pretty darn insane. It might be an incentive for you to get her mech, to be honest, because it does increase her overall effectiveness. Nia's pretty good. Nia is pretty good. But yeah, that should just about, again, like, I don't know why that's so weird. There's not too many other units that have special abilities here. As you can see, Phantasm. I really wish I could just like cycle through them in the talent instead of having to, you know, go to their individual ones. You can see here is not really a way to swap it. I can scroll, go up and down, but you know, that's for the talents, not for the character, unfortunately. I don't believe Grave has one different. So that's the universal, just throw something here. It's kind of weird that it's weird that Tasia doesn't really have, you know, one that's unique. It's honestly odd, but she doesn't need it really. She's already pretty nuts, so I suppose it's fine. But yeah, I do believe that's there's not too many that have unique ones. And the ones that do, some are really good, other ones not so much. I'm just going through the ones that I, the units that I have, and the ones that I don't. Unfortunately, I won't be able to, show that off to you. But as time goes on, and doing more summoning, that'll, surely change. But A16 has one. Escalating violence stacks up another 10 times, and that is her 4th skill. Now, with the mech, standard crits from your attacks have a 10% chance of boosting your damage by 10%, and it usually only stacks with a 3, but with that, it will stack up to 10 additional more times. So that actually is pretty huge for her, and that takes her damage up by quite a significant amount. So she's another one where the talent tree is incredibly helpful. Which she plays a fairly relevant part in the story, so it makes sense that she would have one. But is that the last one? This is the last. I would be surprised if she doesn't have a unique one. She does not. Interesting. That's a shame, because her kit's actually pretty good if you've taken a look at it. They could have done something here, like giving her more lifesteal or something. But yeah, that's pretty much all the units that I have, which I have quite a significant amount of the current pool of pilots. And yeah, those were the talents for them. There's not that many where it makes a difference, and then honestly, like, there's some like Natasha or like a Solvik where it doesn't really matter, but there's others where like a Arent, like a Shmily, like a a Bernadette, a Violet, a Nova, A16, a PN26, a Natasha especially, where Alexa especially, good lord, and Nia, where it makes a pretty substantial difference in the unit's overall productivity. But with that being said, I would like to thank you all for watching, and if you enjoyed the video, feel free to leave a like and feedback on what you thought about the video, what video you'd like to see next. And if you didn't like the video, that's okay too. Leave feedback as well. With that being said, see you all in the next video.